Hey everyone, today we have a review of the new Netflix Babysitters Club. This review is going to be the first 5 episodes because I always feel like with a series, you can get the most out of the first 5 episodes because they're really trying to tell you who these characters are, the setting in the world, you know, and the rules of the world that we exist in. So, it's hot as fuck in this room. I got my door closed so the AC ain't getting in. So, if I look like a fucking hog, bitch, that's why. I got my computer with my notes on it. Whew, it's hot as fuck. There we go. Also, how do you guys like my bedroom? Like, I know you guys are probably like, bitch, you're a 26-year-old man. What's going on here? I don't know. But I know that the bedroom matches your mental state, so, hello. Anyway, and I grew up watching the original Babysitters Club, and I was a huge fan because my mom used to make me like read the books, and my mom used to always instill in my head that read something from a different perspective because then you can learn other walks of life. And to be honest, I'm glad my mom like had me read books like Judy Blume, you know, the Babysitters Club. I would read Goosebumps, you know, I would just read all kinds of Sweet Valley High, like books that are not meant for like maybe boys or like just certain people, you know, because books are meant for everybody, but y'all know what I'm saying. The Babysitters Club ended up falling into that group of things that I read as a kid, and I'm kind of glad I did because now I enjoyed the series back then because I'm a 90s baby, and this one, I would say from a 1 to a 10, this one was a 7.5. It wasn't the best, but it was not as far from the worst. So let's get to the Babysitters Club episode 1, Kristy's great idea. First of all, I'm conflicted because Kristy is a young feminist, but Kristy falls into that thing where she's annoying. She's like the annoying feminist who have like very first world problems. That's the kind of feminist she gives off. So I'm like, she's young, so we can still correct this. So, you know, she's written to be like the feminist, the girl power type character. And I'm like, I don't mind those characters, but not when they're like shoving it in your face, you know? Like, I'm all for destroying the patriarchy and, you know, keeping everything equal. However, it's like, girl, we get it. Calm down. Kristy, her daddy complexion. Oh my god. Like, the thing is with Kristy and her stepdad problems, like, that man was bending over backwards just to please her, get her business and stuff like that. And I can understand being like a little biased towards your dad because you never want somebody coming in thinking like, hey, I'm your dad now, you listen to me. You don't want that shit. However, when somebody's trying to like be nice and make an effort, like, at least you could go like 40% of the way, you know, to meet their 50%. But Kristy was like, I don't fuck with you. I don't like you. You ain't my daddy. Even though my real daddy ain't shit. You know, and I can appreciate that loyalty, but like, damn. Because I know if I'm a stepdaddy, honey, I'm not kissing nobody's kid's ass. You'll come to me when you want to, and if you never do, you just never do. Anyhow, that was like a rant. Personal feelings, personal daddy issues. Anyway. Last thing I want to get on with the Kristy and her whole feminist character arc is like, you know, true feminism can be loud when needed, but you don't have to beat it over people's head where it becomes overkill and then people are like, oh, here she goes, you know. True feminism to me is like an act. It's actions and not words. You know, I don't need to tell you that I'm for women to have equal rights. I'm going to show you. I'm going to put women in positions that they weren't in before because, you know, fuck the patriarchy. I'm all about destroying the patriarchy from the inside, but girl, just being like, a man wouldn't have to write this essay, so why should a girl? It's like, okay, you know. So they formed the Babysitters Club, you know, Claudia, Maryanne, and Kristy, and who's the other girl? Claudia, Maryanne, and Stacy, you know. Stacy's the new girl in town in the first episode, so, and she's Claudia's friend, so they all come together and they unite to make the Babysitters Club. Episode 2, Claudia and the Phantom Caller. I think that's a callback to one of the books because I can swear I remember something about a Phantom Caller. Anyway, it's like a Halloween themed episode, which I really love because Halloween is my favorite season. Halloween should be year round. Claudia got a date with a fellow artist, you know. And you know what one of my problems was with these first 5 episodes? These actresses are amazing, but like their character personalities are just so old for them to be in middle school, you know. And I know they'd be like, you know, they're young women with old souls. I get it, but it's like Okay, but then also, like, I'm conflicted because I didn't want the show to, the show is supposed to skew young, but, like, I like that they have mature personalities, but then it's like, I didn't want the show to be too young, because if you watch the original Babysitters Club, it was young, but it was, like, mature, and maybe because we just all looked at hella old in the 90s, and we dressed older, but I was just like, this show, like, had, like, the best of both worlds, where it skewed too young, where I was like, should I be watching this? But I'm watching it for nostalgia, but also, you know, why are these middle schoolers, you know, acting so mature, you know? But kids do act mature these days, so that's why I say I'm conflicted. Moving on. Oh, Claudia's sister, she's like the personification of teen angst, and just doing, like, little smart, sarcastic, you know, things to annoy her younger little sister and her friends and stuff like that. So I'm like, oh, we got that character. And Maryanne's dad is somewhat of a neurotic control freak, because when Maryanne came in late, he was like, you know, the Phantom Caller has been terrorizing, you know, the Connecticut area or wherever, because I think Stony Brook's in Connecticut. And he was like, you could have been in trouble. And she was like, Dad, it's 8:20. You told me to be home by 8. I'm only 20 minutes late. And Maryanne's one of those kids, she's like 10 and 2, you know, very by the rules. She rarely gets in trouble. She's a bookworm type. So for him to freak out that much, you could tell, like, he's a very overprotective father, which can be a gift and a curse. But also, it just gave me flashbacks to when I was growing up, and my mom had a lock on my door. It was on the outside where she could lock me in the room, and she nailed my window shut. Like, I have a very overprotective mom, so I was like, flashbacks, PTSD. Anyway, Claudia's grandma, she's the real queen of this series, because Claudia kind of has the strict parents that are like, I don't want to say they're not Asian stereotypes where they're like, you have to get perfect A's and stuff like that, but, you know, they graze the line slightly. And Claudia's grandma is more of like the free spirit, like, what's meant to be will be, you know, like, very wise, sage, older woman. So I like that, because you would think she would be more of that old school generation stereotype of getting straight A's, you know, very, you know, militant, and it wasn't that. And her parents aren't really militant, like, they want her to get good grades, however, not as stereotypical as certain other shows depict Asian stereotypes when it comes to parents, you know. So I appreciate they kind of deviated, but not that much, you know. But a little is better than nothing. What else do I want to talk about? The reason why Kristy's character annoys me, Kristy, because, you know, Kristy's outspoken, you know, she thinks not having a filter is a personality type. When Kristy says to her, your dad is kind of like crazy and overprotective and he does too much, and when Maryanne clapped back at that ass and was like, what would you know about having a dad? And then all of a sudden Kristy jumps up and is like, I can't believe you said that, but girl, you just literally called my dad crazy. So it was kind of like, Kristy's one of those people, like, she can dish it, but she can't take it, you know? And if she does have to take it, she's sending the food back, you know? She's one of those type, you know? Kristy thinks being outspoken is a personality trait. And it's like, girl, if you can't dish it, don't serve it up to somebody else. Kristy and her daddy issue flares their ugly head, and the girls have to deal with her microaggressions and her displaced anger. And I liked, for episode 2, I like how the Phantom Caller was a metaphor for these expectation that these parents are putting on their kids are very detrimental, and they constantly ring in their ears. Like Kristy, you know, her and her daddy issue, that's a phantom call she has in the back of her head that keeps on ringing and ringing and ringing. Stacy, her secrets are something that keeps ringing, that's a phantom caller. Claudia and her parents' high expectation, that's something that's always in the back of her head when she's in school. Maryanne and her, like, her neurotic dad who's overprotective, and her mom issues of her mom not being around her and her feeling like she doesn't have confidence, that's constantly ringing. So the phantom phone metaphor that they did is I like that, you know, it made sense, at least to me. So, and I'm sorry if this review is all over the place. I'm just an all over the place type bitch. This review is going to be one of those where I'm not digging into detail, because I want you guys to watch it and get your own perception, but I'm just saying the parts that stuck out for me. So if you're looking for A, B, C, D, a more militant review, this ain't what you're here for. I'm just ranting and talking what I remember from the series and what I wrote down. Anywho, bitch, focus. Okay. Sorry, y'all. I had to make sure that it was still recording and everything. Episode 3. Oh, and at the end of episode 2, can we talk about the Babysitters Club agency? Because now the Babysitters Club has some competition, because what the girls found out is that somebody saw how successful they were being in town, and they decided to do a ripoff, and they call it the Babysitters Agency. Now we have this other club or agency coming for the Babysitters Club next. So now shit's about to get real. Because now you hoes is coming for my money. So now, bitch, we about to fight. Anyway, I gotta hurry up because my camera about to die. Episode 3 is called The Truth About Stacy. This shit feels good. Anyway, okay. So now we established that the Babysitters Agency is coming for the Babysitters Club's throats. The agency is like teenage babysitters who are in high school, and they have a lot more leeway. Like, they can stay out late. They can go pick up the kids from school if they want to. Like, realistically, it makes more sense to have like high school people who have more freedom than middle school people who have like restricted roles they can play when it comes to taking care of a child with their health and, you know, their safety precautions. That's a big, you know, setback for the Babysitters Club, because they're middle school girls. They can only do so much. So these high school girls are like pretty much like, haha, bitch, and it's like all fucked up, you know. So not because the girls are like, bitch, you playing with my money. When you playing with my money, ain't nothing funny. Bitch, if you playing with my money, bitch, let's throw hands at this point. And this episode is the first episode where they called an emergency Babysitters Club meeting, because they used to always do that in the old series. And I was like, oh, a little callback. And I was hoping also for the series that they would use the instrumentals for the original series, but they probably couldn't get the copyright and the intellectual rights to it. So, you know, all that shit's complicated when you get into the Hollywood mumbo jumbo. But I just wanted to hear the I want to hear that, because that is such like Babysitters Club personified. So in this episode, we get into Stacy and her diabetes, which I love that they touched on, because that was like, it was touched on in the original series, but like, you know, I think I remember like 1 or 2 episodes where they talked about it in detail, but not too many. And I liked how they incorporated, you know, and the fact that that was the big secret that Stacy was hiding, because in the first 2 episodes, you could tell Stacy was a part of the group and she loved her new friends because she was new in town. However, she kept her distance. You know, when you have those friends that, like, you know, they're a part of the friend group, but they don't hang out with the main core friend group as much as they do. But when they do, it's kind of like, oh, you know, hey girl, how you doing? You know, shit like that, you know. So I'm like, we found out that's her secret, and that she has like a monitor on her side, you know, that regulates her insulin, and if her blood sugar gets too low, you know, so she doesn't go into shock and start seizing out, which plays into this episode later. And her mother is somewhat disattached emotionally, and seems like she only cares about her daughter's sickness and not her daughter's, like, you know, mental health and stuff like that. So it's kind of like, since she's been diagnosed, Stacy's problem with her mother is that took over her mother's life. Her sickness of being diabetic took over her mother's life, and her mother kind of like forgot about her daughter's emotional stability at the same time, you know. And I was like, oh, I like how they did that, because, you know, in this episode, when the club, Stacy gives me young Allison De Laurentiis tease, you know, not by the action, because Allison was a beast. I was a big Pretty Little Liars fan, so she just gives me young Allison tease. Oh, and in this episode, episode 3, is when the Babysitters Club is walking down the street, and this is where the Babysitters Club busts the Babysitters Agency, who are the teenage girls, because one of the kids that the Babysitters Agency is watching is playing in the street. So that the girls bring them into the house, and the Babysitters Agency girl had her boyfriend over, and, you know, they're doing teenage shit, not paying attention, letting them watch herself pretty much, and they getting paid for it. So what happens is, Stacy calls the mother of the boy that the Babysitter Agency was watching, and Stacy tells them, like, oh, pretty much, you know, they're not watching your kid, he's watching himself, and he's playing in the street. So they fired the Babysitter Agency girl, and that Babysitter Agency girl was like, pretty much like, bitch, I'm about to get you back. And you know how she gets Stacy back? She leaks a video from when Stacy lived in New York having a seizure on the floor from her low blood sugar. I said, what the fuck? Now I can understand, you know, exposing someone, but first of all, you're in high school exposing a middle schooler. So I was kind of like, I don't understand, like, if you're in high school beefing with a middle schooler, you already lost, you know. It was just so like weird. Like, the Babysitters Agency revenge against Stacy snitching on them for being bad babysitters was to leak a video of her seizing out when she lived in New York City from her diabetes. I was like, weird flex, but you do you and your toxic behavior. So yeah, but then after the video leaked, you know, Stacy had to sit down with the Babysitters Club and explain to them, this is the secret, this is why she's been so distant, because she doesn't want people to automatically think of her as like the sick girl. Like, she's still the strong young woman that she's always been, and this isn't going to change much, you know. And then she sits down with the people that, you know, the parents of the babysitters kids that they babysit for, and telling them, like, you know, I'm still the same person. And some of the parents were worried, like, you know, well, what if you start seizing out and your blood sugar gets too low? And one of the parents vouched for her, like, you know, she's very mature for her age, and she's pretty much fine. You know, she's probably one of the most mature girls in the whole Babysitters Club. So y'all guys don't got nothing to worry about. And Stacy knows when to take herself out when her blood sugar or her diabetes is acting too far up, you know? So far, episode 1 was Kristy's kind of episode. Episode 2 was Claudia's. Episode 3 was Stacy's. Episode 4 is Maryanne. Now, Maryanne is like the bookworm. She's the shy girl. You know, me and Maryanne have a lot in common. Like, Maryanne is the personification of a young person with an old soul, because that's who I was growing up. Like, even now, I'm in my mid-20s, and like, I'll be reading like these cheesy ass Harley Quinn romance novels, you know? And honestly, doesn't this phone I got recently remind you of like a Babysitters Club phone? Like, Babysitters Club, how may I help you? Or like if I was doing a Babysitters Club, and we're here to fuck shit up. You know, like just cute shit, you know? Just cute reckless shit. Episode 4 is like, but that's Maryanne's episode. And I love how Maryanne and Claudia's grandma are close, and they discuss Maryanne's mother before she died, you know, because her mother was like, I guess, a lawyer and stuff like that. And Maryanne's complexion is the fact that she's more of the softer side. She doesn't have too much self-confidence, and her mother being a lawyer, you know, you have to have like a ball-busting facade. So it was like, I like the compare and contrast to the two. And I love, like, once again, how Maryanne is just an old soul. Maryanne is so mean, you know, like, I may seem like a bitch, but like Maryanne said in the episode, saying no is hard for Maryanne. So this episode 4 is really Maryanne's struggle to find like her own self-confidence and her self-worth, you know. And pretty much the Babysitters Club in this episode are like saying to her, like, you know, stand up for yourself, stop saying sorry, you know, have confidence, have a backbone, you know. But what they don't realize is having confidence is not something you could tell somebody have. Having confidence grows within us all. Having confidence is like having healthy hair, you know. You have to nourish, you have to take care of it, you have to upkeep it, you know. Don't look at mine right now because my shit's broken. Honey, breakage. But what I'm saying is, like, you know, having hair is like a metaphor for confidence. If you don't take care of it, if you don't, you know, upkeep it and give it the stuff it needs to build it up and strong and long, you're not gonna have it. And that's the same with confidence. You could tell somebody, girl, you need confidence, but that's not gonna make them have it if you don't give them the tools to build it up within themselves. And they gotta wanna have it. You can't wanna have it for them. So I think that's what the girls at the Babysitters Club were missing. So when Maryanne went home and tried to tell her dad, who was, you know, emotionally out the window, he called the other girls' moms and telling them that they were bullying Maryanne. So now the Babysitters Club girls are all grounded because Maryanne's dad, who she was venting to about, you know, her emotions, didn't realize that she was just venting to him. She didn't want him to reprimand them or get them in trouble. She just needed a one-on-one talk with her parent, and he didn't get that. You know, that went over his head, so, because he thinks everybody's, you know, out to get his daughter. He's very overprotective. So you can understand, like, that's his character. So he wouldn't understand when your daughter or your child just needs a one-on-one talk session and it just doesn't go any further. We meet Dawn in this episode, which is shocking because, like, you know, in the OG series, Dawn and Maryanne are stepsisters who their parents are married. So I was wondering, like, oh, how are they going to tie this in? And then it turns out that Dawn and Maryanne's parents dated in high school, and Dawn is a new girl in town. She comes from California. Her dad and mom broke up because her dad is gay, and the mom just moved back to Stony Brook, Connecticut. And yeah, I like the fact that Dawn is like a spiritualist. She's like a witchy, very, you know, chilling adventures of Sabrina type girl, but not so satanic and dark. Very like, I'm one with the earth. And I wonder, is Dawn a Mexican or Native American? Because I love the diversity, and the diversity is so like just just so like, it's just there. It didn't need to be spoken on. It's just like, this is the real world, you know, and this is just what it is. So that's what I appreciated from that. Oh, in this episode, you can tell Kristy's jealousy for Dawn is starting to grow, because what we realized is once the girl stopped talking to Maryanne after Maryanne's dad called all the girls saying that they were bullying Maryanne, all the girls were giving Maryanne a silent treatment. So that's when Maryanne is sitting up at a lunch table and Dawn introduces herself, and they're like, hey, you know, can I sit there? And they kick it off immediately. And then Kristy's looking from across the lunchroom like a little bit jealously, because, you know, Kristy and Maryanne have been friends since kindergarten. So it's kind of like, you know, what's going on here? Are you taking my spot, Dawn? You know, and so that causes a little rise in tension. And then Maryanne invited Dawn and her family over for Thanksgiving. And that's when you find out that I think they used to date in high school, and then, you know, they separated because life happens and shit like that. And I was like, this is how they're gonna write them for them two to get together. And I was like, oh, this is so fucking perfect, because it just made sense, you know. Episode 5 is Dawn's episode. Kristy is low-key feeling insecure because Maryanne is rising in her power and Dawn is helping her out. And whenever you have a friend that you can kind of dominate, you hate when they find their backbone, because you lose a little bit of the control that you once had. So I can see where Kristy's power is fading, and that's what makes Kristy such a complex, like, feminist type girl empowerment, because she likes controlling people, and that's not part of, like, feminism. It's, you know, but that's what makes being a kid, because, like, you know, you're complex, you know. It's a gray area, you know. Morality is always a gray area. One of Dawn's tests of getting into the Babysitters Club, though, is babysitting one of the worst families. And she does good at first, but what happens is the mother of the people that Dawn is babysitting takes complete advantage of her. The mother's a deadbeat. The mother's more worried about her career than her own kids. So, you know, that just shows you what that's worth. And the lady pretty much uses Dawn as a nanny instead of like a babysitter. Like, girl, she needs a life coach and a nanny. She doesn't need a fucking babysitter that's in middle school. A long story short, one of the lady's kids goes missing because the father picks him up. But since the lady is so into her own career, she doesn't tell Dawn, who's babysitting the kids, that one of the kids are getting picked up. When the kid was playing outside, he got picked up by his father. So Dawn is panicking. She thinks the kid ran away. She calls Kristy, who her and Kristy already got a shaky relationship. And long story short, the dad brings the kid back, and she's like, Dawn's mom is like, you're not babysitting for this bitch anymore. This bitch need a mental babysitter. She don't need me. But yeah, so pretty much that's my review of the first 5 episodes. Oh, Dawn does end up getting invited into the Babysitters Club because Kristy and Dawn like have a heart-to-heart when Kristy's having a mental breakdown where her daddy issues once again rears their ugly head, and they just talk about it, you know, and that kind of breaks the bridge of the insecurity that Kristy had for Dawn and Maryanne's relationship, because she realized that Dawn is trying to be everybody's friend, not just one. So yeah, that was pretty much what I think of the episodes, the first 5 episodes of the Babysitters Club. I'm sorry if this is all over the place. Like, comment, and subscribe, and tell me what you guys thought of it. Tell me if you guys want me to react to another vintage episode of the old Babysitters Club. And also, I want to give a shout out to the Netflix Babysitters Club for having a transgender child in the episode, and they didn't make a big deal about it because it's just the new world like that we live in, you know. Like, there's certain kids, you know. The metaphor for that episode, I think that episode was Maryanne's episode, where the big metaphor of Maryanne's episode is most people want their insides to match their outside. So how you feel on the inside, how you want to feel on the outside. And I didn't even realize that the little girl that she was babysitting was transgender until she opened up a closet and they were boy clothes. And I just thought she was a tomboy when the lady said to Maryanne that we just recently got her all her new clothes, you know, so she could match her inside. I was like, oh, that's so nice. And then it dawned on me like, oh. And see, I love when it's done subliminally. It's not a big headline, because if you want this to be the new normal, treat it like a new normal. Like, you know, when there's straight kids on the screen, it's like, you know, we're not being like, oh my God, you know, it's not a big deal, because these are people's life. And if you don't like it, you don't have to live it. That's the good thing about life. So I just love the minorities. I loved how they put all the inclusion in it, but they didn't shove it down your throat. If you caught it, you caught it. If you didn't, you didn't. So that's my opinion on the Babysitters Club. I think for this new series, it's a 7.5, 8 at the tops. You know, it's very, you know, good. It keeps your attention. They're short episodes, 30 minutes at the longest, and I liked it. So tell me guys what you want me to review next. More vlogs will be coming. I got a new podcast, which is why I did this photo shoot in my bedroom, and I will see you guys next time. I hope this thing is still recording. Jesus.